Black Christmas. What a movie. What a way to end 2020, right before Christmas, by posting this review of a retro movie, an old movie from 1974. Let's talk about Black Christmas here on Horror and Coffee. Come check it out. If you like what you see here, please consider subscribing and tap on that bell for future notifications for future Horror and Coffee content. So, I hope everybody out there is well. I hope everybody out there is doing good, right? Keeping away from that nasty coronavirus. I've gotten a couple of my friends sick, pissed me off. I don't like it when I know people personally that have been affected directly by this thing. It's not cool. It's like I want to go out there and like shoot the virus in the head, but that's not technically possible. We're doing a retro review today, and I chose Black Christmas. I've been hearing about Black Christmas from since forever, but another YouTuber, Lee from Drum Dums, right? I'll put his link below. Check out his channel. Turned me on to this movie because he talked about it quite often during the year, and I was like, you know what? I've never seen this movie. And I thought Silent Night, Deadly Night was like the big one here. I was led to believe that Halloween, 1978's Halloween, John Carpenter, was the first horror movie of its kind regarding a holiday. And I turned out to be wrong, apparently. They've been doing, horror holidays since even before Halloween. This film, Black Christmas, came out in 1974, directed by Bob Clark. And it starred some people that I was like, oh, I didn't know they were in it. We're talking about Olivia Hussey. She's from the original, Romeo and Juliet, a classic. Jesus of Nazareth. She played Mary. And she's even done the voice of some Star Wars video games, I found out, which is pretty cool. Another famous actor in this is Margaret Kidder. Superman, Amityville Horror, right? The original Lois Lane from those Superman movies. God rest her soul. She was in this. Another actor I recognize, is John Saxton. He was a cop in Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Nancy's dad. What does he play here? A cop. So here's the deal. Here's the plot of the story. It's around Christmas time, right? And there's a group of sorority girls having a Christmas party, so to speak, in their sorority house, right? And they're all sitting there having it, and they're getting prank calls from this weirdo, right? Like breathing, stupid crap like that. Then as the movie progresses, it turns out that these prank calls are not just prank calls. They're from some maniac that happens to find his way into the sorority house by sneaking in through the attic or whatnot. I was like, dag, that was easy to sneak into. Any maniac can do that. But he kind of puts his home base there in that attic, and then from there begins his killing spree. It doesn't happen in one night. It kind of happens in a succession of at least 2 days, I think, where things just start getting bad for these people. One of their sorority sisters just disappears mysteriously. They don't know where she went. Dad comes to look for her. Everybody's all over the place trying to find. There's also a missing kid in here, and it just gets a little crazy until finally when the baddie shows up, the maniac killer. Yo, this guy's crazy. Like when you think of a maniac who wants to kill, this is the kind of person you think about. This is not an example of It's the Quiet Ones you gotta watch. This guy was loud. When he flipped. Another angle in this movie was the relationship of Olivia Hussey's character. I forgot her character's name. Terrible name, this, with her boyfriend. Apparently, they address a situation together where it will become a decision about, let's just say Roe versus Wade stuff. It's funny because, Roe versus Wade, for those of you who don't know, is the actual legal action in 1973, just a year before this movie came out, that legalized abortion. So what I liked about this film is that it tackles that issue in a very direct and very concrete way. I was bugging out when I saw it. I was like, wow, they're getting deep on this. You know what else they got deep on? Partying partying, and they're little kids in the party. Woohoo! And you see Margaret Kidder's character imploring a little boy to drink some freaking, I don't know what that was, whiskey or something. I was like, dang, that's some illegal stuff, yo. What? This is 1974, all right? So I was like, okay. Woo! Yeah, she was crazy. Her Margaret Kidder's character was a wild card in this one. She just like was just, all over the place. She was very rambunctious and witty and aggressive, and it just got too crazy at some points. Looking at it all, Black Christmas. This is a movie ahead of its time. It really is. Like this movie marked the beginning, I think, truly, of what it means to have a deranged nut job chase you, to kill you on a holiday. You know what's funny? If you watch the very beginning of the film, you see it from the killer's point of view. Kind of like in the beginning of Halloween, when you see Michael Myers, young 6-year-old Michael Myers' point of view, looking at the house. It kind of starts in a similar way. It reminded me a little too much of that. I'm like, it makes me wonder. But considering this movie came out in '74, I thought it was shot very well, and the house was creepy. The sorority house was creepy because, for the most part, they didn't keep the lights on when it got too scary for them. They would leave them off, which made no sense. This killer was like, first of all, doing the prank calls, like I said, right? Where's he calling from? There were no iPhones yet. Was there a phone in the attic? Because that's where he was hiding out. I also learned great deal about how cops had a hard time tracing phone calls back then. It was a hard, tedious job. I bet they hated that. Nowadays, it's easy. You can trace your phone like this. But back in 1974, that joint was a task. The whole thing about the calls coming in reminded me a lot about another movie that came out in 1979 called When a Stranger Calls. Another horror film. And it had kind of the same idea. It wasn't a holiday involved, but I was like, oh, this reminds me a lot about Halloween and When a Stranger Calls. But it was still its own unique story. The kills were great. The suspense. Oh my God. The suspense was the thing that messed you up the most. The suspense more than anything else. The mystery of who this was, and there are certain parts in the film when you kind of start thinking, oh, I know who the killer is. But then you kind of don't know who the killer is. And then there are parts when you think you know and then you don't know. I love the mind bends there because it leaves you wondering, right? It leaves you wondering. Even all the way to the end, it leaves you wondering. I don't want to give away too much. Some people might think I already have, but I haven't really revealed anything. Trust me, I haven't. You got to see this movie. This is definitely if you're a horror fan and you're into the Christmas kind of horror films like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and all that, watch Black Christmas. There's a remake of this film that came out not too long ago. I'm going to check that one out. I'm going to try to review it too, so I can make a comparison. But I wanted to see the original because I wanted to really use that as my base. What I love the most about Black Christmas is that there's no motive or reason behind the killer's motivations. It's kind of like Michael Myers in a way, except Michael Myers never uttered a word. This one got a big mouth. He was always screaming and losing his flipping, and oh man, he was a mess. But I liked how he still was able to, do his evil work in eliminating the people in the sorority house bit by bit, one by one. And it was like, Olivia Hussey is like the main protagonist in the film, her character, and she's the one really like trying to face up to the evil here. And again, you still don't know the motivation behind the evil. That's the part that's amazing about it. Like, you don't know why. And you don't need to know. Again, it's like Halloween, the original Halloween. You don't need to know the motivation. You just need to know that for some unknown reason, evil is out to get you. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to give Black Christmas 3 coffee cups. It's definitely a classic. I would seriously advise you guys going to watch this, especially if you're into horror movies about holidays. If you like the Valentine's Day, Halloween, Friday the 13th, whatever, watch Black Christmas. Watch the remake. I haven't watched the remake yet. I want to know what that's like. So I'm going to watch that so I can make a comparison. But I'm definitely loving Black Christmas. This is definitely one for the keeps. I enjoyed it very much. It was shot well. And like I said, it was definitely a movie ahead of its time. So what are your thoughts? about Black Christmas? Talk to me. Comment below and share with me what you think about one of the early horror movies of holiday massacres. Okay? And let me know what you have to say about it. You have an attic? I would check it before Christmas morning. This is Ralph Perez, Horror and Coffee. Have a pleasant Christmas. Until next time, take care.